The actions of the former Prime Minister were extraordinary, unprecedented, bizarre, extremely irregular, unusual, and they were wrong.
OK, we get it. The official report on Scott Morrison's secret ministry scandal pulled no punches.
The secrecy of the appointments were corrosive of trust in government.
Retired High Court Justice Virginia Bell today revealing Morrison almost added a sixth portfolio to his clone cabinet, the Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment.
Bizarre.
Morrison today defended himself, invoking the pressure of the pandemic to justify his extraordinary power grab, claiming that these decisions were taken during an extremely challenging period where there was a need for considerable urgency. But Bell wasn't buying the pandemic insurance argument.
An acting minister could have been appointed, if needed, in a matter of minutes. The latter three appointments had little connection to the pandemic.
There does not seem to be any reason for why Scott Morrison did this other than ego.
Some of Morrison's own colleagues seem to agree.
Without clarity around the reasons why, it would appear to be overreach, yes.
That is one of the big legacies of Scott Morrison's time as the Prime Minister. He was the Prime Minister who decided that the power he had as Prime Minister was not enough, that he needed to take on extra ministries just in case.
Of course, Morrison's mirror ministry broke plenty of conventions, but no actual rules. Bell making 6 recommendations around disclosing appointments to prevent it happening again.
I will recommend that our government implement all 6 recommendations to restore the Australian people's faith in our democratic institutions.
If legislative change is required, we will support it.
I don't think we're going to see anything like this again, because we're never going to have a Prime Minister quite like Scott Morrison again, who seemed to like power for power's sake.
I don't know that Amy can guarantee we'll never have a Prime Minister that just wants power ever again. That seems maybe a little optimistic. But the thing for me that was more surprising or more of a revelation out of all of this was not so much the way in which it all unfolded and the legal loopholes that existed in which it could be done totally within the rules. And of course, they're all going to be tightened up, so it's unlikely this sort of thing could ever happen again. It's that this actually didn't happen just in this strange vacuum where the pandemic was on and we were all in lockdown and maybe there wasn't that many people in the building, and so he sort of did this on his own. It was that extra ministry which he didn't end up taking over, Agriculture, Water and Environment. And if you read in the findings, what happened there was that the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet actually pushed back. So there was discussion, there were bureaucrats, senior bureaucrats involved, at least in that process. And that, I think, is possibly the more alarming thing, because it speaks to not just a politics, but a bureaucracy, a public service, institutions that have been weakened to the extent that stuff like this did happen.
Well, I think there's also just already, and I am generalising, but there's distrust when it comes to government in certain sectors of the community. And so to have, the Prime Minister there be like, this is going to restore people's faith in it, you can obviously see that because there was this lack of transparency, that's affected a lot of people.
Absolutely. Where there are secrets, there are questions as to why there are secrets.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.